So with this War Thunder video, we're going to be covering some tips I think you should know if you're playing the low tiers of War Thunder whenever it comes to ground RB. Now, some of these tips can definitely be used whenever it comes to higher tiers, but majority of the time I find myself using these tips whenever it comes to the BRs of around 1.0 to around 8.0. So within that BR range, these tips will be the most useful to you. Now, some of the things that we'll be covering in this video is definitely how to use SPA and how to be more effective with them. We're also going to learn how to mobility kill other tanks and also keep from getting mobility killed because, as you know, in lower tiers, your turret ring is something that is very valuable, and also just keeping your gun alive is also very valuable. And then finally, we're going to learn how to use capture points to get the first shot directly onto a target if they're standing anywhere near a capture point. So before we start this video, like always, I do have a Discord that you can hop into and ask some questions, especially if you have anything War Thunder related. I'll be gladly able to answer for you. And then also, what would you guys think about a squadron being made for the channel and you'll be able to join it, earn your squadron vehicles, all that sort of stuff? It's nothing going to be like squadron events or anything like that. It's just going to be something for you guys to join into to actually grind out some of the squadron vehicles. So if there's enough support for it, I would definitely, start to actually make one. So for the first tip, we're definitely going to be starting with SPAs. And for SPAs, every nation has one, at least. At certain BRs, there is definitely black holes whenever it comes to like America, for example, all the way to about 7.0. But the thing about SPAs is that there's an easy way to actually learn how to aim with them and learn how to be very effective with them. Now, the thing about lower tiers is that you don't have the radar, or you don't have the targeting computer to actually show you where to aim with them. But there is a little bit of a way, for War Thunder at least, to know if you're overleading or underleading a shot by watching how the tracers actually go towards the target. Now, at the end of the day of things, it is one of the things that you kind of just have to get used to. It's going to be a thing that also determines what kind of settings you have on within your War Thunder. For me, at least, I have on high. I do not have DLSS on because DLSS does something crazy with tracers. But at the same time, it's one of those things that's not really going to work for everyone. But if you're able to get into a decent amount of like equipment whenever it comes to the game, just like a decent monitor or decent TV, and then play the game on at least high, at least you'll be able to do the same thing that I can. So definitely for this part of the video, turn the video on 4K so you're able to actually see the tracers and see what I'm doing whenever it comes to shooting at these targets. But the easiest way to know where you're aiming whenever it comes to SPA is actually just looking at the tracers. So if you're overleading somebody whenever it comes to your SPAs, what's going to mainly happen is you'll see your tracer go towards the target, it will go behind it, you'll lose visual of the tracer for just a microsecond, and then you'll be able to see it again. That means that you're overleading. It means that you're overshooting the target whenever it comes to your SPA. It means that you need to actually back down a little bit. Now, the contrary of that is underleading your SPA shot. And the way that you kind of see that is that you'll shoot and your tracer never disappears behind the enemy. So that means that you're underleading and actually need to lead a little bit more whenever it comes to shooting with SPAs. So like with anything, you're not going to become a natural with this overnight. You're definitely going to have to get used to this, especially if you never noticed that tracers actually do this for SPA. But also, let's go into the next tip, which is that tracers can be your downfall as an SPA as well. Because if you start shooting at an enemy before they actually see you and before they even know you exist, you just give away your position and they know to either evade you and never come anywhere near close to you where you're able to actually shoot them down, or that they will come near you and just gun you out because they know exactly where you're at. So the thing about SPAs is that tracers can be your helpful. They can be very helpful with actually seeing where the target is, seeing whether your bullets are hitting towards the target. But at the same time, they can also be your downfall because enemy planes can see those tracers as well and see exactly from where you're shooting from. There's only a select few SPAs within the game, like the Sergeant York or like the LAV, which do not have tracers that don't really have to worry about this. But for anything low tier, you definitely do have to worry about your tracers giving away your position. And one thing that I really like to do as an SPA whenever it comes to that is every time that I'm shooting and I do not kill the plane that I was shooting at, I definitely want to move away from the area I was shooting from. Because at least whenever I'm playing cast, the number one thing that I want to take out as fast as possible is the enemy SPA, because then I'm able to just do as I please. So if you're able to move away, you might surprise someone who is actually setting up a little bit of a gun run on you to actually gun you out, and then you're able to shoot them down. One of the easiest ways to kill planes is getting them close as possible to you without them actually attacking you, which is one of the huge things that you need to try to do. And just make sure to move around. Even if you're still in your spawn, just move around just a little bit. Go to the other side of your spawn. Go to, just a little bit towards the enemy and kind of gets confused of where the SPAs are currently at, because the number one killer of SPAs from cast planes is just staying in your spawn, staying shooting at targets that you can't hit, and then at the same time that you're shooting at them and just giving away your position. So definitely the number one thing for SPAs is move around and don't stay in just one position. So the next thing we're going to be covering is gun and track torture. It's not what you think it is. It is definitely a heinous crime to do this, but at the same time, it's a feature within War Thunder, and if you're not doing it, you're definitely missing out, because it's very funny if you actually just track somebody out, shoot their gun out, and just go to the side of them, get a weak spot on them, and actually kill them. Very fun to do with like KV-1Bs, and KV-1Es, which are normally one of the hardest things to kill at 4.0. Now the whole premise of this is definitely whenever you're playing within the lower tiers of War Thunder, you're going to find tanks that you just don't know how to kill because there's so many of them, and then you're also just going to have tanks that you just can't kill because, well, your gun isn't powerful enough to actually pin them from the front. So the way that you can deal with these types of tanks is either one, for like the best solution to this is just run away for the moment and try to get a flank on them. But if there's no really option of going away from them, is to do the track and barrel torture. So what this is that you want to shoot the gun out, which is shooting towards the barrel of the tank. If it completely destroys it, it will blag out the gun, and that means the gunner and as well as the tank cannot shoot at you, which means that you're able to get on a better, side of the tank. Now, the only problem about this is that they still have mobility. So whenever it comes to mobility, they can either run away, or they can run towards their teammates, or they can just make it to where the weak spot of the tank is not accessible to you. So the next thing you need to do is actually shoot out their track. Once you shoot out their tracks, if you only shoot one out, they're still able to traverse left and right, but they're not able to move backwards and forwards. But if you shoot out both of the tracks, they're immobile and you cannot move at all. So it is one of the big things whenever it comes to that is shooting that stuff out and then getting on the side of them and getting some easy kills whenever it comes to actually doing that. Now the next thing is actually countering track and barrel torture, and that is by wiggling. So if you don't know what wiggling is, it's a very common tactic within War Thunder from higher skilled players of where they use the advantage of, well, for one, you're having to move your turret. They're also using the advantage of ping and people having bad internet, of where they wiggle the turret and wiggle the gun. So if you're actually trying to shoot out the gun or you're trying to shoot out the track, you maybe will miss, or it maybe will hit the tank and get volumetric to where it doesn't pin and it doesn't do a ton of damage. Now, it's a tactic that is definitely one of those that really shouldn't be in the game because, well, for one, ping is a thing. So definitely if you have higher ping or you have lower ping, it's going to be completely different of the way that you actually do this. And also the player that is shooting at you, their ping also matters in this as well. So it's one of those things that you can do. It's not the most reliable thing, but it's like the last resort that you can actually do to actually survive. Someone is trying to shoot out your gun or someone is trying to shoot out your tracks, is just wiggling back and forth. So do the wiggle and you maybe will survive a little bit longer in War Thunder. And then finally, we have a tip that comes with the capture points. It was actually added not long ago, probably like around 2 years ago whenever it comes to War Thunder, is that you're able to actually range find without having a rangefinder if someone is near a capture point. So the capture points within War Thunder, it's a change that I really never agreed with because it basically just tells you the range of each capture point. You're able to view it underneath the capture point itself. So if it says like 2 kilometers away from a capture point, you just move your gun to 2 kilometers and you're able to actually shoot at enemies that are on a capture point, and you're able to get like the first shot very much accurately. The only problem about this is people that are shooting back at you do not have this ability of being able to see your range. So majority of the time you will get the first shot off. Now this also works whenever you're trying to just estimate ranges. Like let's just say that someone's near a capture point, but you think they're maybe like 200 or 300 meters away from that capture point. You're actually able to estimate just a little bit better of where you think you should aim, and maybe you will get the first shot off. Now there is still range finding whenever it comes to this BR, but the thing about it is just like within top tier, if you're able to get the shot off first before the enemy's actually able to shoot you, majority of the time you will win the engagement unless it doesn't pen, or that the enemy just has a very much better shot than you. But being able to use these types of features in War Thunder are just something that's a little bit extra to learn and just to be cognizant of, to be honest, and you're able to use it very effectively. So these are the tips, at least for me, whenever it comes to lower tiers, I see myself finding or that I'm using a lot, but also at the same time, they do kind of apply to higher tiers. I don't really see myself using, the capture point, rangefinder just because, I have laser rangefinders at that point. So if you do like these types of videos, remember to like and sub to the channel. It is very much appreciated. And also, I do have other videos that go on the same topics of these types of things where you're just basically wanting to get better at War Thunder. So if you do want to check out those types of videos, they will be on the screen now.